the Utah Division of State History has released some photographs that were taken by a state official who was there that the stone was excavated. And in one of them, you can see that a forklift is dragging the stone from the hole, from the opening, and it's dragging it. What would you think about that as an archaeologist?
That's, it's not good. It's not, it's not, it could, like I said, it could, dragging the stone across sands and silts could erase any inscriptions that were on it. It could damage the stone itself. When we saw the stone, there was a crack in it, and we wrote in the article that we thought it would need to be very carefully and gingerly looked at in order to see what was on the other side without hurting the stone itself. No, and the other thing about dragging is you're destroying that context that I was talking about. You're not going to know what their pit looked like if you just drag something through it. You're not going to know if there were any mementos placed with it. You might even mess up some of the concrete that was there that was going to give you a clue on how it had been set. So that, I saw those pictures, Nancy, and it made me sad.
And then what would archaeologists do with the opening after if the decision is made to remove it, and you already said that that's a decision usually make after talking with, consulting with descendants and the community. But say that the decision was made to take it out and then you've removed it, then what do you do with the opening? Do you just fill it back up, or do you leave it open? Do you put a fence around? What do archaeologists do?
Well, typically in the past, archaeologists would put something on the floor of their pit to mark that it has been disturbed. So that could be a coin dated to the year of the archaeological excavation. Some archaeologists put like landscaping cloth at the bottom of their unit so that in the future, somebody will know that's when that unit was excavated. I guess we have great ideas that there'll be archaeologists in the future that will want to know what we did. And they'll be able to reconstruct it even just from the way the earth is. But we would probably refill it with the same earth because it's all been screened, remember. We've passed every bit of it through a 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch mesh screen. So we'll know there's no artifacts in it. And then we can put that back into the hole. And then we don't usually mark it on the surface. We usually try to restore the ground surface to as close as you can to what it was before.
And what kind of documentation is being done?
Oh, so much paperwork. Every single level has a form. Every artifact will get cataloged. Every rock will be drawn. The sidewalls of your unit will be drawn and photographed and measured. And if you are so lucky as to find the original pit outline, you'll certainly document that with photographs and measurements. And take soil samples maybe to test the soil, do a color match to see so that you can describe the soil carefully to geologists or other archaeologists. Any artifacts you found, this kind of depends on the descendant community, and the community at large too would be analyzed, cataloged, and if the community wants, they could be put in a museum, or they could be put back in the hole. It kind of depends on the cultural values or the traditional values.
In the case where something like this historic monument to someone who has died, and it's 78 years old now. What kinds of ceremonies? I mean, I know for the Japanese American community, there would be certain ceremonies that one might plan and carry out at the time if there was advance notice and the ability to discuss it. But have you been aware of other kinds of public participation in excavations?
Oh, in the archaeological excavation? Yes. Um, Not for something so sacred as this, but at Manzanar, there's a community archaeology program where descendants, Japanese American community volunteers, pretty much decide what is going to be excavated and then participate in the actual physical excavations too. And if they have time, they are always invited to work with the artifacts, to analyze the artifacts and catalog and curate them. So yeah, that's that can be so powerful and so meaningful, because when Manzanar has had people who lived at Manzanar, who were incarcerated at Manzanar, participate in the archaeological excavations. And one of them, who recently passed, said, "You can't begin to imagine what it's like to be stuck here at Manzanar until you work at an archaeological excavation." And I don't mean that it's so horrible as being incarcerated, but what he meant was the weather, the wind, the sand, the dirt, the being outside with no relief. That, is a benefit of archaeology and also a curse of archaeology, which he experienced as a teenager when he was at Manzanar.